Did I forget to bring up the chat? Sure did. Hi, welcome to, there we go. This. It's Livecoding is what today is, and we are going to be working on setting up our Rasa X server. So before we do that, a little bit nervous because I don't see anything yet in the, and there we go, fantastic. I was gonna say I don't see the stream catching up with me yet, but here we go. Stream is good. We're good. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Happy to have y'all. No, sorry, those are the release notes for VS Code, which is not what we're looking at here. Today we're gonna be looking at our assistant. And just to go over what we've done so far, we have an assistant that will answer, frequently asked questions that I get asked. Recommending resources from a database, sort of general questions about like, Rasa, or I used to work at Kaggle, so some very general Kaggle questions, stuff like that. And I'm sure as people interact with the assistant more and we get more data, we'll be able to expand it and make it more interesting. But right now we've got, an MVP, a minimum viable product, or MWE, minimum working example. And that means that it's time to get it in front of folks, because I've sort of based the questions that I can ask right now, or answer right now, based on things that I get asked a lot and sort of like my domain knowledge. But, people might ask different things of a bot that I built than they might of me. So, important to get it in front of people as soon as possible, get on that conversation-driven development iteration cycle. Hi, Amina, good to see you again. And Ash, you too. Hello, welcome. And that means we need a public deployment. So a while ago, I did like a local version of a Rasa server, but I don't keep this computer on with the server running all the time. So it makes sense to have a public deployment that people can actually take a look at. And we are talking about, we talked about a while ago, a number of different options for deployment. And I decided to go with the, hi Robbie, the first deployment being on Rasa X, and I think I said Heroku, but I decided to go with DigitalOcean. Vincent actually has a tutorial up on how to create or start a Rasa server on DigitalOcean. So that's what we're going to be doing, and this will be an exciting stream for me, because I'm gonna have to try really hard not to show any of my credentials throughout the whole process. So wish me luck. And I can just kill the server really quick if that happens to happen. So I've actually already created a server, and I can pop that up. So I've already created a server yesterday, and today we're going to install Rasa X on it, and then we're going to, we got to create an image for our action server, and then we're going to add that to our Rasa X server, and then hopefully have it be public. And my plan for the day, so let me just quickly add a section here so that we can look back on this. Actually, you know what? I think it makes sense to have it here. Rasa X plus DigitalOcean deploy. Robbie says you can convert your GitHub repos into an app. Bogdash says hello, hello. Yeah, I think I'm gonna go with the Docker Compose version, because I'm gonna probably want to add more things to this assistant in the future. And so the benefit of Docker Compose is that you can have multiple Docker containers. And if we want to, for example, add a duckling server, then that's pretty straightforward, and I know how to do that. And I'm not super familiar with the app conversion process for DigitalOcean specifically, so I'm gonna stick with the one that I know how to do, because that's efficient. But yeah, could definitely be something that someone else checks out if you're interested. So create a droplet, and we have a YouTube tutorial for that. So I'm going to pull that up and stick the link in. Pull that up and stick the link in here so that if y'all are going back and looking at the repo afterwards, you can go check it out. And then we need to install Rasa X. While installing, add notice that convos will be seen publicly during CDD on the live stream. I don't want to surprise people by their thinking that they're talking to an assistant privately and then their responses get shown on the live stream. So I want to make sure that people know that whatever they say to the assistant isn't going to be kept private. Just, you know, it's important to tell people what you're going to do with the data that they provide. And then we need to create an image of our action server and add to Docker Hub, I think is what we generally use. Pretty sure Docker Hub. And then add our assistant to our server. So that's the plan. Let's give it a shot. Okay, so the first thing that I'm gonna need to do is SSH into my Docker, I think it's called a Droplet. It's a server. And the one that I did is not super big, so I may actually end up needing to kill it and redo it anyway. It's got 4 gigs of memory and 80 gigs of disk space. And with my action server, I think it should work, but it might be a bit big and I might need to pop up to the next tier because that's something that's happened before to me. All right. Where did I have my SSH keys for these? If you're worried about my security, I made special SSH keys specifically for this project. And I'm pretty sure they're there. Yeah. And then, what's the last part of the command? I don't SSH into stuff very often. Right. Root and then at my IP address. And that is, I'm just going to copy and paste it from here. Nope. Actually, no, that's not going to work, is it? Because of reasons, I don't think that's going to work. So I'm just going to type it in by hand. And I'm gonna mute myself. And I think we're good. Yeah, fantastic, excellent. Stuff can be upgraded, I don't care that much. Okay, so now we are SSH'd into our DigitalOcean droplet. Next up, we're gonna need to install Rasa X. So docs.rasa.com. Rasa.com/docs. I don't know why I always get that backwards. I think it's the Google background radiation. All right, Rasa X, and I'm gonna use the Docker Compose quick install what we have because I am that's a question. Do I want to use the quick install or the Docker Compose? I think the quick install. Sorry, I think for me, I'm going to use the Docker Compose for the reason of it's going to be easier to hide my password when I do that. Ibizel says, I don't think I've ever seen the secret stuff screen. Yeah, I don't usually do things where I might potentially reveal credentials during stream for, I don't know, maybe obvious reasons. It happens. That's the DevRel experience. Okay, yeah, so I'm just going to pop this over into another window and then literally copy and paste. And we'll see if I can actually do it right. Fabulous. All right, and then we just need to actually do the installation. That's going to take a minute. So while this is happening, I am going to change my assistant a little bit. So what I'm going to do is in my domain where we talk about the utter greet, I'm going to add, just so you know, this now I think I can do it as two. This assistant is being worked on during a live stream, so your responses might show up during the stream. Okay. Enrique says some effects from time to time. Fresh says, any place where I can get a version 2 beginner-friendly tutorial besides the documentation. I want to learn about forms in Rasa and customs actions, beginner-friendly. So for custom actions, we have a tutorial on the YouTube channel. I think it's called like Tutorial Custom Actions, maybe 101 or maybe Introduction. I don't remember the whole thing. Yeah, I will absolutely agree to the Rasa X terms and conditions. And then the other thing you might try, I believe the Udemy course, Rasa for Beginners, has been updated to Rasa 2.x as of this video coming out. And that is free, and Maddie did it, and it is a really good way to get started with Rasa. So that is udemy.com/course/Rasa-4-beginners. So that should also hopefully be. All right. Fabulous. Okay, I think we are good to go with that step, and I've added my information here. And I'm just gonna double check that my YAML syntax is right, because I have been known to do my YAML syntax badly in the past. So I'm gonna go into my personal website bot, and then I'm just gonna quickly train a new model. And if my YAML syntax is bad, I'll get an error. Let's find out. Bagesh says, I tried to install Rasa X, but every time I get dependency issues with Rasa and Rasa Core. Ooh, so as of 1.x, Rasa, you shouldn't have to install Rasa Core separately. So Rasa Core and Rasa NLU used to be separate, and then we merged them into Rasa open source in one of the early 1 versions. And you might be getting compatibility issues between your local version of Rasa open source and Rasa X, and we do have a compatibility matrix. So let me just pull that up really quick. That might be helpful, but honestly something that we might run into today, so also good to have available. So in Rasa X, where's my matrix? So for a specific version of Rasa X, there are only specific versions of Rasa open source that are supported. So that might be an issue. My other sort of general tip for installation is we do have some installation tutorials that might be helpful on the YouTube channel, but I would personally install TensorFlow and SpaCy first if you're going to be using them, because then you know that the installation issues are specifically with TensorFlow and SpaCy, and those communities are fantastic. They've got excellent documentation, and I think it'll be easier to get help solving your problems. So hopefully that helps. Yeah, you built it using Rasa repos. Yeah, they're not all going to be, depending on like the specific, you know, branch of the repo, it may not be the most up-to-date thing. So yeah, and if there's a version mismatch, you'll have a bad time. It's a very active project. We're constantly doing updates and bug fixes and stuff. So yeah, I would double check your versions and then see if it's specifically a TensorFlow or a SpaCy issue, because those tend to be the ones that get bugs. Kupesh says, thank you, very welcome. Okay, so, and the Rasa model is trained. Fantastic. So I think I should be able to just really quickly check that information looks good. And I'm just doing this because I've changed something about my assistant and I want to make sure it still works good. So if I say hi, I should be greeted and then told, FYI, we might see what you're doing. Yep, fantastic. So we are good to go with changing our assistant. Let's check back in on this. Okay, and then we are on step. Going back to the docs. So we have installed Rasa X and we accepted the terms and conditions. And now we can start Rasa X and then set our admin password. So let's do that. And I believe we will not have an assistant up and running. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to connect. So my plan, sorry, I know I'm a little bit all over the place today. Apologies for that. But my plan, once we have it up and running, is I should be able to connect it to my GitHub repo. And again, I'm going to have to do my darndest not to accidentally show SSH keys. Let me add that to our to-do list, because I think that'll be helpful. So we were doing it in the so we've created a droplet, check. Installing Rasa X, check. We've told people that their conversations might be seen, check. This is what we're going to need to do next. Add our assistant to a server via GitHub integrate. And I think what I'm going to do is actually reorder these a little bit. So I just want to make sure that the Rasa server bit works first before we double check that the action server bit works well. Quick test. So we're going to want to test our assistant to make sure that it works well. I feel like there was something else that I was going to do in here that I'm just completely forgetting. Add our assistant. Yeah. Create Rasa instance. All right. So we actually have a server. And then we're going to add our assistant to the server via the GitHub GitHub integration. And then we're going to test. And then we're going to do actions. Okay. No. There we go. All right. Add action to our okay, I think this is the plan, and I have a nagging feeling that there was something else I was going to do, and I have just forgotten what it was. So we'll cross that bridge when we come to it, I guess. Okay, so the next thing that we want to do is we want to now if we look in our server, we should see that we have number of stuff. Did we not actually install? Because we should see Yeah, okay, excellent. There we go. Fantastic. I was just double checking that we actually did run the installation correctly. Looks like we did. And now we can start the Docker Compose bit. Ooh, we're running as root. And hang out here. Okay. And this is another thing that will take a second. So, TensorFlow is smooth. Thanks. Oh, fantastic. Fantastic. Due to dependencies, it's better to use a Conda environment or Python virtual environment. I was using Conda. Good, good, good. Yeah. If you're having specific issues, I would post about it on the forum. One sec. I got my little animation. The forums. Just because it's hard to give me enough information through a YouTube comment to, if it's not like a simple issue, figure it out. And also, I may not know the answer, even if you could give me enough information, but somebody on the forums will. Willie says, do you know about any issues installing Rasa X server? Did I hit enter? Server with spacey Spanish models. I do have an open thread on the forum website. I took the Udemy course on advanced deployment and didn't have any problem. Then came up when I loaded with my Spanish bot and the spacey model, I guess. Ooh. If the thing that's happening is that it's just taking forever and you're not getting any information back, it could be that you don't have enough memory allocated to your server. So that is, sometimes that can just be like, it silently fails and you never find out why. Yeah, it could also potentially be, it could potentially be a character encoding thing, I guess, maybe? I don't know. Yeah, I need to take a look at the thread, and also I've never worked with a Spanish spacey model, so it would take me a while to figure that out. Yeah, just copy and paste the Rasa docs installation. That's what I'm doing. Enrique says, more special effects. Yeah, getting fancy. I love live programmer. Krupesh says, I use BotFront's web chat, specifically only works on the socket channel. Will the Rasa community bring any UI package that can support a REST channel? Thanks again. Ooh, there's a couple. There's web chat and then there's chat room. I think chat room might support REST. Let me see if I can pull it quick. All right. So this is a community project for scalable minds that we forked. Yes, and this one will work with REST. So I would check out chat room. I will say the big problem with chat room that I know that folks have run into is that if the conversation history is very long, you can start to get some latency issues. Yeah, but that's what I would check out. Hold up, I just had a thought. Yeah. Okay, I'm pretty sure that is a public branch. Sorry, I forgot I was logged into GitHub. Ooh, So nothing's happening? Oh, it's in the background, of course. So the flag D. So I guess we'll find out when it's done. Probably take a bit. And if I look at my Droplet information, you can definitely see where I started doing stuff. And then this one was at 9:22, which is about 3 minutes ago. Mm. Did I do something? All right, I'm just I can pull this over. I don't have to like keep that hidden while I'm scrolling. So we're doing we're using the compose install script. Oh, I can never remember the Docker command for checking all of your containers. But we don't have a command prompt, so it can't be done yet. So it must still be running silently. I shouldn't have done the D tag. Oh well. All right. Yeah, oh, Kubesh says I was looking for a better one. Yeah, it's the only one I know off the top of my head. I mean, I'm very much, I'm happy to have somebody build the front end for me. I think I mentioned this before. I am not, let me put it this way. I made a button yesterday, like a new button for my Stream Deck so I could mute myself. Oh, you can't see that at all. A new button for my Stream Deck so I could mute myself. And I had like a 15-minute crisis where I was like, should the button show the state or should the button show the thing that happens when you push the button? And that is, I feel like most front-end people don't have that sort of crisis. Like, there's just so much to think about. And like, if you do a good job, nobody notices because it's just easy for them. And if you do a bad job, you get yelled at. I don't know. I've got nothing but respect for front-end developers and designers and everybody who works on sort of UIs, but not my strong suit, I would say. How y'all doing? We're just waiting for this to happen. I guess we can start our I guess we can start working on the action server actually while we're waiting for this, because again it'll so what I think makes sense is we're gonna come back to this, but I think for now what I want to know about is the action server customizing. So adding a custom action server. Fabulous. To use a custom action server, you need to build a Docker image for your action server. Please see building an action server image for more information on how to build an image and deploy it for a registry. That's what I want to do. Fantastic. Excellent. It's working again now. So let's do that. All right. Sorry, I know this is a little bit small, so let me zoom in for a little bit. Oh, that's right. So we added, since the last time I had to deploy a custom action server, we actually added a GitHub action for it. And I'm a little nervous about going on GitHub because I am logged in and I don't want to show anything private. But if you wanted to automate this, you could do it like so. And I think we also have yeah, a workaround for manually building the action server, which I think is what I'm gonna do just to make my life a little bit easier. I'm gonna quickly, before I move this, I'm just gonna do a little peek behind the screen. Just gonna see what's back there. And make sure that I'm not showing off any of my fabulous. We are good to go. Excellent. So I was just making sure we didn't show off any of our passwords. My passwords. I don't want them to be our passwords. Y'all are great, but passwords should be private. Okay, so check. And now I need to set my admin password, which I am going to do. So I think I should be in that, yeah, I'm already in that directory. So now I'm going to set my password and I'm going to do that secretly. Okay, we're back. Fabulous. Okay, I think now we should be able to go to our, well, y'all should be able to go to the IP address, but I personally will be able to log in at the IP address. So let's head there now. Yep. There we go. So this is, you know, just on the internet, but only I have the password. So I'm the only one who's going to be able to log in right now. So this is publicly facing, and I could, you know, share this with my colleagues, you know, share the password with them through some sort of secure password manager, and do it that way. But what I'm going to do instead is this. There we go. And I am logged in using the password that I just set. And let's not do that right now. So right now we don't actually have an assistant. If you look at the models here, you can see there are no trained models. And what we're going to want to do is I'm going to connect this to my Git repository. But before I do that, I'm actually going to upload my current version of my assistant to GitHub. And I am using just like the Windows GitHub desktop widget because it makes my life easier. Good. And then push. Excellent. So now when I connect to the assistant on GitHub, I will be able to get the latest version, the one that I just created, and not a new one. And that just finished pushing to origin, so good to go. We can get out of there. Fabulous. So now we're going to connect to GitHub. And this is going to be another tricky part where I have to be very careful not to show information. And just in another window over here, I'm gonna do some poking around. So we actually do have a walkthrough on how to do this on our YouTube channel, where I show an SSH key that does not exist anymore. But perhaps, obviously, I can't show you an SSH key that actually exists right now for security reasons. Things. Right? And I'm just going to my GitHub. So I'm just going to my GitHub account /settings/keys, and I'm going to create a new SSH key for FAQ Rasa X. And then one is going to be created when I connect to my GitHub repository, but I'm going to do that behind secret stuff because, again, security reasons. I know it's a little bit frustrating that like key parts of this are not going to be visible, but we do have tutorials on GitHub and YouTube for those bits. So secret stuff. What am I doing? So I'm clicking on the little connection there, and then I'm going to connect to a repository. And then I have created an SSH key, which I'm going to add to my GitHub. And then I'm going to add... oh, I got to confirm my password. All right. And I'm going to mute myself really quickly. So, fun fact, it is possible to reconstruct passwords from the sounds of keyboards. So I'm going to mute myself. So that's the thing. All right, I've added my SSH key to my GitHub, and now I'm gonna go to the, I had a moment where I thought I'd show you my screen. I was like, now it's still up there. Whew. It's fine, we're all good. Now I'm gonna go to my, the repository that has the code that I want, which is the personal website bot. It's in the link of the YouTube video. And then I am going to get the SSH URL. I'm just going to copy and paste that from the code drop down button thing. And then I'm going to add the branch name, and I think for now I'm going to go with main. All right, and then I'm going to hit verify connection, and hopefully it should work. Whew, this is very nerve-wracking. This is very much like high-stakes live streaming. All right, and that is connecting. So I'm just gonna drag the screen over very carefully, just make sure everything's good. And there's nothing sensitive on this screen. So, hi, welcome back. And it's still connecting to the GitHub repo, and I think it's probably gonna take a minute, particularly because I am using all of my bandwidth right now, all of my network bandwidth. Oh, Docker PS to list all running Docker containers. I'm gonna do that really quick. One sec. Okay, I'm pretty sure all of these are not sensitive. So here are my Docker containers, and I'm zoomed way in, but I've got Nginx, Rasa X demo, Rasa and Rasa X, and Rasa is 2.4, and Rasa X is 0.38. And RabbitMQ, and I've got Duckling already installed. Redis, PostgreSQL are all of my containers, and I'm gonna need to add a new one for my action server. But we'll do that next, I think. Thing manual install. All right. Ooh, the repo is done connecting. Oh, Enrique says you don't need to use sudo if you're already root. You know, you're right. It's been a while since I've actually worked in Linux, because I've been doing so much stuff in Windows. Krupash says, there's one big issue with Rasa. Every time I change an intent example or a tiny bit of code, I need to retrain. Oh, so you're going to want to use incremental training for that. So basically, instead of retraining from scratch, you are updating your model and you're fine-tuning it with the new data. And we added that relatively. Amina says, will you use ngrok to share with others? I don't need to. So the URL is public facing. Only I can log in because I have the password. But the benefit of running it on a server as opposed to my computer is that it's already, right, publicly available on the network. So once I have my little assistant thing up and running, it should be good to go. My little, ooh, what's it called? The demo share screen. I think it's called like share chatbot with users or something. Yep, with a real public IP. She says double check every time. Listen, I live in fear. And it's internet accessible by anyone. Yeah. So ngrok is doing the thing that in this case DigitalOcean is doing. It's creating the server so people can use it. It's creating the connection and then making that connection publicly available. The server is running. All right, and I'm gonna pull it back over, but before I do that, one sec. Just give me a teeny little bit of time. Blah, 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 blah. Da, 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 da. All right. Fabulous, we're good to go. So you can see that we still have no models trained, so I could upload one, but I'm just going to choose to train a model. And you can see if we look at the sort of the NLU data, these are all the examples that I provided in the training data. And you can see all of the different, entities. Wow, all the entities are tagged, and this one, language technology, you can see that I've created a synonym already for NLP, but I could, change that synonym if I wanted to. I don't want to because this is going to help us with the lookup in the database in the future. So all the work that I did in these YAML text files, I could also have done in a Rasa X server, but I'm lazy and I prefer not to start my Rasa X server until I'm, a little bit further along. And you can see that we've got our responses. Oh yeah, this is from a while ago. I'm actually just gonna delete this because I don't need that. That was from the very first assistant that we the very first example assistant that we created. And you can see all my stories are in here, and we've got the nice little flow chart so you can work through and see everything that's on. And we've got the rules for the FAQs and the out of scope. And we've got our full pipeline, including, if you remember, we did the character level model in addition to the word level model to handle spelling variation a little bit better. And then we've got like all of our domain stuff that we have. Ooh, tell me about this domain. Yeah, I don't think we actually need this. I think this is from an earlier again, an earlier version of the assistant, so I don't think that's actually important. Newsletter form was found in the domain, but is missing the training data. Just gonna get rid of that entirely. So helpful. And then resource type was found in the training data, but is missing in the domain. So I think, unless I have done a bad job typing, which is very possible, I think we should be good to go here. Fabulous. Okay, so at this point, and you should be able to see that I can push my changes to GitHub. I was already just worried like something would show up there. It was fine. And I can actually, in the GitHub repository, you can see, so in my GitHub repository, you can see that I can actually look at the pull requests for my assistant that I've been working with in the Rasa X server. So it's all connected together. Go back to here. It's really nice. I'm a huge fan. It does make our lives much easier to be able to use Rasa X. Hi, Mr. Gabrielan. Sorry if I'm saying that wrong. Welcome, welcome. We're building fancy chatbots. Zoom in a little bit to make it a little bit bigger. Yeah. Yeah, I hope you find the incremental training helpful. We added it relatively recently. I want to say like 2.2 maybe. But yeah, it should be a big time saver and, money. Ozmax says, I just joined. I want to ask about the configuration you're using right now. Have you done this in a previous live? So the assistant that we're working on now, we've been working on for a couple months at this point. And right now we are, getting ready to start pushing it live and beginning to work on the conversation-driven development process. But I also don't work on this except when I'm live coding, so it gets 1 hour of time a week. I guess for this project, I did make my droplet yesterday, so an hour and 10 minutes of time a week. Okay, so we don't have any models, you can see, so let's train us a model. And I'm just gonna train a new one. Yeah, fantastic. Oh. So, well, that's happening. I don't think we have any regex or lookups. I know that we were talking recently about, this might have been in the, it might have been in the office hours, but someone was asking about like a big list of countries. So one way that you could do that is that you could add all of those countries as a table, because like a list of countries is pretty easy to find on the internet. Find just a big list of countries and add it as a lookup table, and that way every time it's found, it'll, you know, handle it automatically, and it's easier than doing what we are doing for things like this with Rasa, where the entities are actually annotated in the training data every time they appear. So if you don't want to add an example for somebody asking for every country, a lookup table is going to save you a bunch of time. Iraq says, I love these live streams. Is there a way to accept all responses for a particular intent without listing examples? One of my bot utterances is why, and when I want to accept any response and prompt the next question, but this always creates issues. So what I would do in that case is I would create a form, and for filling the slots in the form, I would do it from text rather than from the intent. So if we go here, so intents are a little bit optional in your training data using end-to-end learning. So when you are doing a story, instead of saying a specific intent, you can say just like the text that somebody puts in. And that's helpful for things that might fall under more than one intent or are just like really contextual. I wouldn't use end-to-end learning for everything, but it can help with that sort of situation. And I would add examples in end-to-end learning using that no intent for those particular types of things, and then the forms. There we go. So from text here means I will fill this from whatever text is input. And you don't have to have the intent and not intent options. And if you don't have those, whatever is used as a response to the question that's prompted to fill this slot will just be stuck in there. That's what we did in the assistant that we worked on before this, which was a 1.x assistant, was a dialect quiz, and I wanted people to be able to put in any text, and that's what they did. But it had the intent in form. Are you trained? Yay, training is done. All right, let's see that model. Fantastic. And then we are going, follow this. We'll activate the model. And you can see that we have an active model. And now we should be able to talk to our assistant. So I'm going to talk to it here. Now, we don't yet have our action server up and running. So the conversational part of it will work, but the action server part of it where we actually are able to provide slots and look things up in a database, that won't work. So let me have a little sample conversation for our testing and see how it goes. Start with saying hi. Like I mentioned, we are at, oh, sorry. Let me actually start the conversation by saying hi. And then we should see an action listen here or a response. Oh, it's interactive learning. Sorry, I don't actually want interactive learning. So the assumption here is that we would fill each of the slots and all the actions that the user did. Sorry, that the assistant would do itself. I think it isn't actually interactive learning. So I could change this if I wanted to, but I think it just took a little second because it was the first one. So let's ask some questions. Do you use Python? So that is identified as a FAQ ask R versus Python, and then the response is, you know, from my point of view, I prefer R when working with tabular data, doing statistical modeling or visualization. Otherwise, I'll generally use Python. Another question, are you looking for a new job? I get a lot of orders. And that should, yes, good. So that is being identified as out of scope because the bot is specifically for questions about like machine learning and NLP stuff and general stuff like that. And this is all looking good so far. And then let's try to trigger our action that won't work because we don't have a we don't have the server up and running. Can you recommend an NLP? So you can see that the intent is ask resource. So this is what would trigger the action query resource type, which is not going to happen because we don't have our action server up and running. So we need to create an image for that, and then add it. And then the slots were detected as NLP and book, which is good. That is what we want. So that is working correctly. And then the query resource action was triggered, but nothing happened because the action server wasn't there to run the code. And then the assistant would at this point, because the action produces text, the text would be said, but again, the action never happened, and then the assistant is listening. So that is all looking good, honestly. So let's actually save this as a story just to add it to our test data. And we don't need to, looking at the NLU inbox, we can see all of this, and that's good. That's good, that's good, that's good. That's good, fabulous. So I'm gonna mark all of these as correct. And if one of them weren't correct, I could have corrected it there, because the first conversation that we had, we were talking to our assistant, right? In Rasa X itself, but going forward, other people are going to be talking to our assistant. So the NLU inbox will help us be able to go through and see where our assistant is working well and see where it's not working well, and flag things. I should have gone through all that before I marked them all as correct, and flag things to look at later and all that sort of stuff. So yeah, I think we are pretty much good to go at this point. Sorry, I'm not entirely sure how to say your name. I didn't know I could do that. I'll check out the Dialect Quiz. Yeah. I mean, the Dialect Quiz is for Rasa 1.x, so I would recommend the docs over the Dialect Quiz. Ooh, actually, did we convert the Dialect Quiz? We might have converted the Dialect Quiz. Or did we convert this assistant? We converted one of the assistants, but I don't remember which one it was. All right, so we're good to go. This is running publicly. We got about 7 minutes left. Is that going to be enough time to get our action server up and running? I don't remember my Docker credentials, so I'd have to go look them up, so that would take a bit. So I'm thinking we'll just leave the actions for now. And come back to it, and do that next week, and also do some NLU documentation. But what I am ready to do is make it public, let you all start talking to it. So let's do it. Yep, and we're going to create a link. Let's do it. Pretty sure this will all be okay. Ah. Shoo. Shoo. Go away. Go away. Because I'm zoomed right in or way out. Alright, let's do it. Interesting. That might be a bug. Okay, so assistant details. FAQ. Rachel's FAQ bot. This is a work in progress to answer some of the questions I get commonly asked. Note that this is a live streaming project. Your responses might be shown publicly. The responses to this assistant might be shown publicly. There we go. All right. And then we're gonna test it in incognito mode. I'm gonna zoom way out. Generate the link. Gonna check it real quick in another thing. All right, I think it works. Yeah, it works. Okay, so here is, you can see that this is, URL is live. I'll post it in the chat for y'all to check out. This is live incognito mode. I'm not logged in at all, and I can talk to my assistant. Do you like ice cream? So this should be an out of scope. Interesting. Oh, it's thinking. Excellent. Okay, so that was identified as out of scope, and the correct response was given. So we're good to go. We are up and running, and I will post this link, y'all, if you would like to talk to the assistant. It's not a huge instance where everyone talks to it at once. We may have some exciting, interesting scaling issues, but we'll find out. So that's it. Resistance up and running. People can talk to it. We can start doing the conversation-driven development process. And let me share the link in the YouTube chat as well. And if you're watching this in the future, the server may or may not still be up and running. We'll find out. Goodness, sorry. That was my dog. He is a cutie. All right, and I will post that link in the YouTube chat as well, so y'all can see that. Ooh, copy the link. All right. Yeah. So Robbie says, nice tutorial. Great, and the link should be live now. I guess you could also go back and like type it in, but why? So we're good to go. At this point, next time we're going to do the action server, so next week. And also the other thing that we're going to do is maybe some CDD. I might go through and do a first pass myself, because last time, hopefully we don't see a repeat of this, there was a lot of abusive language, and yeah, that was a rough live stream. But you know, I think the Rasa community is good. I think you all know that that is unacceptable and that you won't do that. Yeah, that's the thing. That's what I had for y'all. Where is Rasa X server in? Is it there? There we go. All right, so we should be able to. Interesting. I'm still getting a lot of weird little nudges. But if we look at here, you can see that we've got various conversations. We should see a lot of stuff in the NLU inbox. Insights is a new thing that I'm going to be interested in doing in the future. And this takes a little bit to run, so I think I'm going to wait on doing this next week. Add that to my to-do list. Also, another new feature that's so cool. It's so good. It's gonna make everybody's lives so much easier. I'm really excited to do that with y'all. Yeah, exciting times. I think we're done. It's exactly 10. Question from Rohit. Rasa X uses only RDMS, Relational Database Management System, PostgreSQL. I remember because dict entity value can't be stored. I wonder why it is NoSQL. I don't know the full thinking behind that particular design decision. I know that I believe that the PostgreSQL is specifically for the tracker store. Oh, don't quote me on that. Don't quote me on that. I'd ask in the forums, particularly if you are interested in sort of extending it. I know there are a lot of folks who have needed to use particular. Get out from behind Sarah. I know there's a lot of folks that have needed to use specific backends, particularly corporate clients for security reasons or like whatever their RT department supported. So that might work. All right. Thanks so much for joining me today, y'all. I hope this was helpful. I hope you have a great weekend, and I will see you next Wednesday for office hours with, I think, Akila. Bring Akila the hard questions. She is fantastic. She's so knowledgeable. Let me double check that it is her. It's going to be somebody fantastic because the Rasa team is great. Oh, next week is going to be Ben and then Akila. Ben, also fantastic, also extremely knowledgeable. Used to work at Disney, so that's fun. Yeah, and they'll be able to, Ben or Akila, I think, would be able to answer your questions about the database management. Yeah. All right, so we'll see you then. And have a great weekend. I'll talk to y'all later.